Alrighty, this is the Jess Miskell Motocast show. My name is Jess Miskell, and today I'm joined with Preston MASCIANGELO. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on, Jess.
Of course, so good to have you. So you're from Canada, and I was doing research for this episode. I saw you had an interview on Vital MX, and you said that moto was like a seasonal thing. What was it like having to put the bike up when it was like icy or snowy?
Yeah, for the longest time, up until about 3 years ago, it was motocross was pretty seasonal for me. I never really did the whole training during the winter down south and whatnot until a little
Mm-hmm.
later in my amateur career. So yeah, no, it was tough for sure. I'd come out and spring nationals in Texas would kind of be my first outing of the year on a dirt bike. So I'd really I'd really have to race my way into shape. And it was pretty unfortunate because by the time I got to November around minios or whatnot, I'd get pretty good. And then after that, it was kind of, put the bikes away for 5 months
Mm-hmm.
and go through the cycle again. So it was tough for sure. But yeah, I made the most of it. And I honestly think it kind of helped me not get burnt out of the sport
Mm-hmm.
so quick. Like I know of a few people that you train so young and go so hard for so long that by the time you get to pro, it's kind of you get that little burnout. So I think that's kind of I still got the fire in me to keep going now that I'm kind of doing it full time. So I think it
Yeah.
worked out.
Yeah, absolutely. Your dad has a history of racing mountain bikes, and you did too, right?
Yes, yeah, I did. I still do a little bit of both, but yeah, it's always kind of been that way.
Gotcha. And so that's more popular in Canada than motocross is, right? Like the mountain bike thing.
For sure. I'd say on the west coast of Canada for sure. One of kind of downhill mountain biking's hub for racing is in Whistler, British Columbia.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad's been there a few times. I've never been up there. I kind of plan to go. I actually plan to go this summer. But yeah, mountain bikes are very popular in Canada. We have some good spots in Quebec, which is one province over from me.
Hmm.
And yeah, so my dad raced downhill professionally for a few years back in his time. And yeah, so it's always just been kind of part of my life, just racing in general. And even to this day, I still I race, and then I kind of do. I've been recently getting back more into mountain bikes as of late. So yeah, it's always kind of been around. I raced I raced a lot of cross country mountain bikes when I was younger, on top of racing dirt bikes, and it was always fun to me. But you just kind of can't beat dirt bikes. So
Right?
that's yeah, exactly. I mean, it kind of speaks for itself. So.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. So then how did you decide that moto was more your thing over the mountain bikes?
I think honestly what it came down to was it's just more intense. There's more. Like the adrenaline. It kind of just, if you're a racer, it kind of just runs through you, and it's the same in mountain bikes. But I was racing cross country a lot, and it's just a lot slower pace.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously you're still working really hard, but the short race aspect of motocross and supercross compared to a lot of other racing sports just makes it more exciting, um, even just as a racer. And that's that's kind of what got me. And even downhill racing
Mm-hmm.
is very short paced and high intensity, but you're kind of just racing the clock, and that's never really been my thing. So yeah, yeah, that's kind of what led me in the motocross direction. And yeah, it's hard to beat, like I said.
Yeah, that's awesome. It seems to be working out very well for you.
try my best.
So piggybacking off of what I said a second ago, when did you realize that it was more than just like a hobby? Like when did you?
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
That's a deep one. That's a deep question for sure. I think for me, probably only 3 years ago. You know,
Mm-hmm.
During my amateur career, I was pretty good racing amateurs in my own right. I did all the main nationals and whatnot. I rode for Factory Suzuki when they still had their amateur team. When I was on kind of racing 85s and super minis, and I always knew I wanted to be a professional motocross racer. Is kind of all I knew.
Mm-hmm.
I went to school up until 8th grade, and then I left, and because I really wanted to pursue the motocross thing. And then in about 2019, the Suzuki amateur kind of deal we had going with RM Army kind of went away. So losing the Suzuki ride, and then shortly after, with COVID and everything, I couldn't race in the U.S. We couldn't get across the border. So for a while there, I want to say maybe a year and a half, like honestly, probably close to 2 years, I didn't race in the U.S. I barely raced at home. I turned pro in Canada, just to race the pro nationals that were still happening, the local ones that I could do. But other than that, I wasn't really doing much. I didn't, I kind of was back in school,
Mm-hmm.
and wasn't a whole lot going on. And the motocross thing kind of faded out for a little bit. And that kind of takes me back into where I'm at now is, so I got back we got back down into the States in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when, so I left, my last race I did in the States before COVID, I was racing a super mini, and then I came back in 22 racing 250A, because I had went pro in Canada. So, big jump, obviously everything changes. People had changed. Kind of, the whole environment was different. So, for the last 3 years, I've kind of just been racing my way back into shape and trying to get back to where I was pretty early on in my racing, and I think it's finally starting to come around.
Good. Do you think that starting young or younger, like you said, you started at 5 and started racing at 6, right? So do you think that starting younger gives kids a better chance at going pro one day?
I definitely think there's benefits to starting younger, but you know what? At the same time, like I said, I kind of stopped and then started again.
Right.
And I know a lot of guys now, even racing in B and A and racing SMX Next. A lot of those dudes kind of started a lot later in life,
Mm-hmm.
and are just as good, if not better, than some of the kids that have been doing it, their entire life. So, I don't know. I think when you start late, obviously you have that ability to learn a lot quicker.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, like coming back into it after my little break, obviously I knew what I was doing. But yeah, there's benefits to both sides for sure. Starting early, obviously you learn the industry a lot quicker and you get to know people, and I think that's a huge benefit. But like we've seen, like there's been some people that only started riding 5-6 years ago, and they're in A class now and at the top of it. So it's that's also pretty wild to see, because you don't normally see that in other sports.
Yeah. What did your family think about your decision to pursue this as heavily as you are?
That's a good question. I'm very fortunate and lucky enough to have a family that's really supported it my whole life. I have two sisters, and obviously my mom and dad, and my sisters have given up a lot for me to be able to do this. And you know what, we're a racing family. Obviously my dad comes from a racing background as well, and we've just always loved it, and it's kind of just an addiction. I've always been very good, not the best, but I've always been very good. And in that kind of situation, it's always easy to chase, and to, being on the cusp like that, even all the way down to right now, like I'm kind of, I'm one of those bubble riders that, every weekend I'm fighting for a main event. Sometimes it'll work and sometimes it doesn't. So there's always been a lot of motivation for me, not only me but also my family, to kind of fight for that next step, because it's always been so close for me. So it's just always been like that. Even like I said, to this day, even going into Houston, we're always right on that cusp for the main event. So I'm always fighting.
Yeah. And then you talked about sacrifices, which is funny because that was my next question, was what is the biggest thing that you or your family has had to give up for your racing career?
That's a tough one. That's also a really good one. Dang. There's been quite a few things over the years. One of them actually happening right now. My mom and my sisters were supposed to be here with me to do, and to be a part of the racing, and my dad was supposed to be my mechanic this year, and things kind of just didn't work out. My dad's been really busy at home, and everyone's just kind of been busy doing their thing, and so my family hasn't been able to make it out to any of the rounds yet. So this has been, obviously last year being my first full season racing professional in the States. Racing this is now, going into my second year, and pretty much doing it all on my own, which is pretty new to me. And it's definitely been a big learning curve, and not only for me, but for my parents and my family. Like they want to be here more than anything. So making that sacrifice to stay at home while I continue to pursue this dream, like in any way that we can. Obviously racing dirt bikes is dang expensive too. So trying to just go from race to race and improve as much as I can. But like honestly, like I said, one of the biggest sacrifices going on right now. So it's funny you say that.
Well, it's good that you guys are continuing to keep your heads up.
Yes, 100%.
So you had your Supercross pro debut in the U.S. At Anaheim 2 in 2025, right?
Yes.
What was that race like for you, if you can remember?
I can remember. Probably the most surreal thing I've ever been a part of. Obviously, we've all gone to Supercrosses, been in the crowd, and watched it from the stands, but there is nothing quite like going through the tunnel and walking out onto the stadium floor. It's something it's definitely like a life goal of mine, checked off the list to be able to do that. And I remember even at Anaheim 1 last year, I didn't really know where I was going to fit in. Like, I didn't know if I was going to make the night show. I didn't know how really anything was going to go. So even now being past those kind of goals and looking back on it, making the night show, getting into those heat races that Anaheim won last year. And I'm an emotional person too. Like whenever I tick a big goal off the list, like I'll be crying for sure. So even lining up for those heat races, shed a few tears for sure. And then and then obviously I made the main event at Ep.2 last year through the LC2. I remember I still had like 2 laps to go, and I was in second, and I had started crying like 2 laps with still 2 laps to go, and I was crying, which didn't help anything. But yeah, it's being able to do this, and most of us riders all have the goal of being a part of Supercross, especially in the main show one day. So to be a part of it all that early was pretty. It's pretty insane. It still is. I made the main event at San Diego a few weekends ago, and I was crying again. So the feeling really never goes away, and I think that's what makes the sport so special. And that's obviously what keeps us all, like I said, chasing for more, because it's an unreal feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. So how impactful was the transition from amateur to pro in the US? I know you said that you were pro younger in Canada, but kind of more focused on the US here. But what was the biggest challenge for you from amateur to pro?
It's hard to say. I feel like racing in Canada professionally while I was younger, although the competition was definitely not what it is in America, getting used to the formats and stuff like that of racing pro really helped in that aspect. And I was lucky enough to be invited to some of the Supercross Futures events and the combines for the Outdoor Pro Nationals back in 2023. So that also, like I said, kind of gets you used to the format, understand the race day a little more. And I'd like to say the transition was pretty smooth for me, especially having, like I said, I raced 2 years in A class in 250A after I came back into racing in the US in 2022. So being able to race against those faster guys and get used to the longer motos and the longer races definitely made it easier. I will say though, I never raced any outdoor pro nationals before Supercross. So Anaheim 1 last year was my first ever professional American event. And no matter what you do to prepare it, I feel like you just can't be prepared. It was still, it's hard to get ready for something like that. So, Supercross is something that I feel like it's just always going to take experience. And, I practice as much as I want. At the end of the day, I still don't have the race experience. And I think that's what it'll still cost me. So it's a lot of Supercross especially comes down to a lot of race experience. And I'm still kind of racing my way into shape,
Yeah. What's something that you think fans overlook about racing at this level, or like just misinterpret in general?
Something overlooked racing at this level. I think, honestly, going back to, I've been in 2 main events now. making the show, and now I have so much respect for any person who puts their dirt bike out on a supercross track. To be in, and you know, as fans, we all kind of just look at, you know, the top 5, the top 10, and that's what, you know, we're generally following. But to be out in a stadium on that track, and to even just be able to qualify for the night show, you just have to be insane on a dirt bike. And I feel like for a general fan of the sport, that can be overlooked. Like I said, because you know, we have so much talent at the front in Supercross, and but yeah, like, just to be in those main events, be in those night shows, it's like, you know, you got some, you know how to ride a dirt bike, and any one of those guys who makes a night show at a Supercross track would go to your local track and just tear everything up. So yeah, I think that is definitely something that's overlooked, is just how talented everybody out on that field is, for sure.
Right. I remember, like, I started going to Supercross in like 2017. I was pretty young, and I remember coming home after and telling my dad, being like, I think I can do that. Like, that looks pretty easy. But
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Definitely was not easy.
I was always the same. I was always the same way too. Like, when I was on 85s and whatnot, like, you know, 13, 14 years old, I would I'd go out and you know, because I would go to training facilities for 2-3 weeks at a time. I'd never stay there full time like some of the kids do now, but I always go for a little bit. And I was at south of the border in South Carolina in like 2018, and I'd sit there and I'd watch the guys on Supercross, and I'd be like, dang, I could do that right now, you know. But it's and then I got out there, and then they let me ride it on my 85, and, like, you know, you quickly realize this is like, I couldn't do anything. So
right. Or you.
It's yeah, it's and obviously, you know, even going into the stadiums, being up high, and even on TV too, it's like everything looks easy. Like, those guys, everyone makes it look so easy.
Right. And then
until you get out there and walk the track, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. I wanted to talk about the team really quick. How do you like being with Next Level?
They're awesome. I can't say enough good things about the guys over there. Chris, Jake, Danny, everyone involved in putting that program together. We're a faith-based team, and I have a really strong faith, and so that obviously really aligns with what I'm kind of about. And I have some really awesome teammates too. We just, you know, we work well together. We have a really good dynamic. No one, you know, we're racers at the end of the day, and it's kind of an every man for himself kind of sport, but we're all there to help each other. Obviously, I have my teammates Hunter Schlosser and Colby Koff and Slade Barola, all of those guys kind of having more experience than me. So being able to have them in my corner, and they help me so much too, just with the experience side of things. And we work, like I said, we just work well together. It's an awesome dynamic. Everyone's there for each other. And yeah, it's like I said, not enough good things to say. I'm pretty blessed to be where I'm at right now.
That's great. I'm glad to hear it. So did you go from Club MX to Next Level like right away, or was there any facility that you were at in between those two?
Well, Club MX, I still train at Club MX.
Okay.
That's where I did all of my off-season training between November and December at Club. And then kind of made my way out to out to California after that. I was supposed to have a longer off season, or preseason riding time, but I ended up breaking my collarbone in September, so I wasn't able to do a whole lot going into the season. But it's as of right now, I've just kind of been, as we're in the season, I kind of just float around with the team. We rode a lot in Southern California when we were out there.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm pretty much based in Phoenix for the rest of the rounds. So, yeah, I've just been riding tracks out there. Hunter Schlosser, he's pretty much in Phoenix as well. So we've kind of been riding partners lately. And that's kind of the during the season gig is, we just kind of ride where the tracks are at and where the cities take us. So it's pretty fun. I like it. Like, it's obviously there's not a whole lot to you're not doing that that boot camp type of stuff during the season. So it's we kind of just ride and do laps and have a good time.
Good. You used to make these vlogs that I was researching, obviously, and I came across your old vlogs
good.
that you made.
I'm glad. Yep.
They were really entertaining. I had a good time watching them. Your last one was like a year ago. Why did you stop doing them?
That's pretty cool that you looked into those. I'm so on and off with the whole YouTube thing. And I've had so many people advise me and tell me that, you're going to be consistent with it. Don't just do like 4 in a row and then stop it. And that's always how I've been. Like, if you scroll down, wouldn't even have to scroll down that far. And then you're into like, videos from, 7-8 years ago.
Yeah.
So I keep them up there, and I've actually had like a few. I have some friends back at home that work in videography, and like there's actually like I have one video on there from like a day in the life at Club MX, and one of my buddies in Scrub TV put that together for me, and that one was awesome. I don't know. I just, if I ever get to a point in my career where I can pay a cameraman to follow me around and do all the editing and all the filming and whatnot for me, I think it would be a really consistent thing, because I love that idea for me. The problem is with me that I get way too picky with stuff. So I'll take a video of myself saying the same thing like 35 times before I pick one. And it always just took me too long. So I've never, like, during a season, I've never had time to kind of like dive into that. And I think if I let things kind of just roll and put something together without trying to be so perfect and meticulous, like, I think it would work. But that's always just been the way I am. And I talk to so many people too that tell me that you just gotta roll with it. You just gotta do it one time. If whatever it is, you edit it later and you put it up. But
right.
Yeah, not me. I'm sure you know how it is with the podcast and the interviews and whatnot.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it can get pretty tedious for sure.
Yes. It really does.
I wanted to shift a little bit and talk about more like the mental side of things, because I'm super into that. Like, I really want to get down to the nitty gritty and just like pick your brain and know what it is that goes on before race, or like, and I enjoy that sometimes a little more than talking about like bike work or things like that. So,
right.
What is a routine before race?
It's very, I do have a routine. Since I've been with the new team, we kind of together have a routine that we all follow during the day that kind of keeps us in line. I have a pretty scattered brain, so and I think last year that's where I went a little wrong, is because I let nerves and stuff like that get to me pretty good. Luckily, being a part of the team this year, we've got some really good people that have helped kind of coach me through that kind of stuff. But it is, the sport of Supercross is 5% riding and like 95% mental. So trying to overcome the mental side of things, no matter how hard you try, is always going to be difficult. And like even, for example, like driving to Houston this weekend from Phoenix, being a 17-hour drive, I'll listen to my music and kind of like put myself in the zone and try and envision myself being where I want to be, with all the alone time in the car. And, I can do that all I want. And then I walk into the stadium for first qualifying, and, you can't find that version of yourself when you're sitting down there, and it's hard. And it's really hard to bring it back with everything going on, like obviously the environment, being in the stadiums. I will say it's a little easier for me during the day than it is at night. I'm sure everyone could say the same thing. As soon as you go up for that heat race and lights are turned on, people are in the stands, it's really hard to block out the noise. And most of the the stress and the anxiety will just happen sitting on the line. Once that gate drops, everything goes away. But that's definitely like, I'll sit there and I'll let it build for, like ever sitting on the line. You're sitting on the line, you're waiting to go, and it feels like an eternity. So I think this year kind of discovered about myself is just trying to keep the mood really light all the time and not necessarily put so much focus and pressure on the racing, rather than just going out there and having a fun time. Because I think for a little while there, I let so much of the nerves and anxiety get to me that like it was taking the fun out of it. So getting to a point now where, and especially having such a good group of people around me now, just getting to a point where I can just go out there and have fun, even sitting in the tunnel waiting for the heat races. I'm pretty good friends with, everybody I race now, and we'll just sit around and we'll watch and we'll talk, and I just keep the mood light. That's pretty much 3 words, if I could describe it, is keeping the mood light, for sure.
That's good. Do you have any race day superstitions?
No. I don't. I have zero, like, I know people, a lot of people like to drop their new helmets on the ground, or if they get a new set of gear, they like rub their gear in the dirt. I don't know. A lot of people do some funny stuff. I've never been like that. I'll take a helmet out of the box, put it on my head, and go ride. I never like try to get its first scratch or anything like that. No, I don't know. I've just never been about it. Like, nothing really, never had anything that's like spooked me or made me have any like race day superstitions or like just, habits like that. I'm pretty just chill about it.
Fair enough. How do you handle the pressure when the expectations are so high?
Kind of, like what I was just talking about. Last season, being my first season, and I rode for AJE Gas. Unfortunately, they closed their doors at the end of last season. So I rode for them last year, and I was actually the only racer on the team. So going into the season, obviously I felt like the man, and because I was the only guy and I had this whole semi, I was by myself. I put all this pressure on myself because of that, and felt like I really had to perform since, we were going through all this effort for one guy. I think it definitely would have been different last year if there was someone else to kind of distribute that pressure with. But being by myself, I kind of didn't really know how to feel, because obviously I'm trying to take it easy, but being the only guy on the team, and that's just puts a lot of pressure on itself. So, and that kind of affected me the whole year. And even just not having a teammate to, conversate with and discuss rider type things, the track and how everything's, coming together, stuff like that. So last year I just, myself, I put a lot of pressure on myself. And that's, like I said, one thing that's really changed going into this year. Obviously I have experience. I've been to most of these stadiums. I understand the format of the racing. And so that kind of first season pressure is out of the way. And now it's that just makes it a lot easier in itself, just having that out of the way. And obviously, like I said, having my teammates, having my the team staff, just so many people that are able to help me and look at it from a different point of view is that's just been pretty much the biggest step for me.
Alrighty. What's been the biggest mental lesson that racing has taught you so far? And we're just kind of staying in like the same general questions. I know, but what do you think has been the biggest lesson mentally?
I think, and it's honestly, it's not even, racing in itself, not a whole lot, but what I've, had to do and overcome to get to the races, especially this year, has been more of what's, kind of made me more mentally resilient. Not a lot of people would know this about me now, but I'm a super introverted person. I've had to kind of put that away. And, in order to, kind of get myself to these races and make things affordable, I've had to get to know a lot of new people and stay with people I don't know and meet new people. And honestly, if you had done, or if you had asked me to do the stuff that I'm doing this year, even last year, I don't know if I would have done it. So, even the 3 weeks that I've been with the new team and met so many new people and, all the new faces that are in my corner, it's honestly such a blessing. And I think that's taught me the most is just to, being by myself and trying to figure things out, no matter how I got to do it, is kind of, that's been the biggest, mental thing for me is to overcome, is to kind of just always find a way to get to the race and to make it work. And doing that by myself, it's been difficult, but luckily, I've been blessed with a lot of really good people that are now in my corner and a lot of new friends and a lot of people that are already family to me. So it's pretty cool how a situation that a super uncomfortable situation that I thought I was putting myself in turned into one of the biggest blessings I've had in life so far. So it's been pretty cool. That's one thing I love about motocross is that just the people you'll meet and like the relationships that kind of last, that I know will last a lifetime. So
Yeah, Moto's a very like tight knit community.
it is, and once you know enough people, those people know people, and it's just kind of a full circle thing, and everyone kind of knows everyone. It's a big industry and a small one at the same time.
Right. That's funny you talk about being an introvert because like we met at A1, like formally met at A1, and you just seemed so like you were very like inviting. So that's funny that you say that because I definitely never would have guessed that.
Yeah, it's I've always been that way, but like people would have to come up to me for me to like I've always been like I've always been like friendly, nice. I have that kind of persona, but that's always been like I'd sit around until even a year or two ago, or probably 2 years ago, I'd sit around in the trailer until someone asked for me, and then I'd go out and then I'd talk to them for a little bit, and then eventually I'd be like, all right, now I can start talking. But like lately, since I've had to find people to do this thing with, this keep the racing dream alive. It's like I've kind of transformed my whole personality, which you don't see very often, and I never thought I would go out of that, but it's pretty cool how that kind of stuff works.
Yeah. So we're 3 rounds into Supercross, almost 4. During the off season, did your mindset change at all, or was it pretty consistent?
It's honestly, I've still got the same mindset that I kind of came into this year with. Being at Club MX, I was there for a month, and I knew, like I said, having that experience and just 1 year of experience under my belt, and kind of taking my riding to the next level this year. I'd say last year, I could get around the tracks, but a big difference in my riding this year is that I can, I'm comfortable. So now I can, instead of just riding and getting around the track, I feel like I can really push and race. So that's been, that's obviously, it's helped my confidence a ton, especially being at club, riding with the guys that are there now, obviously the team guys. You got guys like Cody Schock and Max Voll and Hunter Yoder, Devin Simonson, bunch of the Phoenix racing guys are always out there. There's a lot of really, talented and, well decorated people in the sport there to chase and to grow from. So going into the season, my goals were just to be in every main event, and then if I can stack 3 or 4 main events together, then now I'm going to start chasing a position. I'd say now my goal is to be, I really want to be a top 15 guy in the main event. And, when I get there, it'll definitely change. I think someone in my position who's just using this year as a growth year and like a stepping stone. The goals are always changing. So it's just growing and building, and even the little things too, having I'd like to, I wouldn't like to say, but last weekend was not the greatest weekend. But there's a lot of great things I can take away from it. My starts are really good. There's a lot of stuff that I can still take away from it. So that's what I'm trying to look at it as, like at the point I'm in now.
Yeah. Speaking of A2, I've been paying more attention to like your racing because like preparing for this and everything. But what happened in that LCQ? I was absolutely gutted. I was so gutted.
I knew this was going to be a topic of conversation for sure. I've heard it from every corner this week. Yeah, that one sucked.
Yeah.
I've never been in that position in an LCQ before. Whenever I've had a really good LCQ, it's obviously been really good. I've led it and got second both times that I've made the main event. That one, I'll be honest, like last weekend, I really just didn't have the speed. And I think it really it came down to the whoop section. I was losing, I went back, and even during the day I was looking at sector times, and I was straight up losing like 2 seconds in the whoops, and that was the only spot. So I couldn't figure those things out. I qualified like 30th, 11th in the LCQ, not the LCQ, the heat, which was actually a step in the right direction because I came from like 17th to 11th. So like I said, yeah, they got better. I did not expect the LCQ to go the way it did.
Right.
Just because of kind of how, the day wasn't really trending in the best direction. So I got out there and I was leading it, and I felt pretty good. And then, obviously got 2 laps in, Crockett got around me, and then, and then Aiden and Dominic. And then I ended up in 4th, and I think I really just played it too safe. I thought I had it. And second to last corner, Maddie had an awesome run through the whoops, which I was struggling with. I started jumping them. It was not a good move. He got on the outside of me. I put him as high up in the blocks as I could, just trying to stop the momentum. Thought I had him. I did not guard the inside going into that last corner. And there he was. So it's obviously heartbreaking for me. I can laugh about it. Like I said, it sucks, but at the same time, I did it to myself. And if I had been in 5th place and I was looking for that last spot, I would have done the same thing.
Right.
So, I can't be mad at it. I just didn't have it. The only way I was getting into that main event was with that start. So, I know I'm there, that's the main thing for me, is that if I'm not making the main, if I'm 5th or 6th, then I'm really always right there. Then, that's kind of where I expected to be early in the season. So, as long as I'm not doing worse than that, I'm good. But obviously, those kind of races are heartbreaking because I put myself in a good spot and I just kind of let it go away. So that definitely won't be happening this weekend. I can tell you that.
I know, yeah. We'll see it at Houston, right?
Yep.
Shifting over to more bike talk. What are the biggest changes you make to the bike between the Supercross and Motocross season without saying suspension? Because that's what everyone says.
Yep. I'm going to be completely honest. I have, like, for my whole racing career, I kind of just ride what's put in front of me. So, like, even growing up, a lot of the time I was just racing stock suspension, stock bars. Like, my dad would put a pipe on my bike. My dad would put bars on my bike, suspension. A lot of the time I couldn't tell the difference. So, now there's good and bad to that racing pro, because obviously, there's a bit of you that has to be picky about your setup to know what you really like. And I think I'm getting to that point now, but, it's still in terms of setup, I'm still pretty loose. Like obviously I'm switching my suspension. That's a given. But other than that, I don't do anything. And even this year, I had my Supercross suspension done, prior to me going to Club MX. and I think I might have messed with my clickers one time, like on my second day, and I have not done a single thing to my suspension since. For the most part, because I'm too scared to, because I'm so used to what I have now, and I think that's always the way it's been. It's just I get used to what I have. So when there is change, I'm, even if it's good or bad, I'm just kind of scared to do it. So a lot of the time I just leave my stuff the same, and I just ride it. And if it's not what I like, then I just ride it to the point where I get so used to it that I just, it doesn't matter to me.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it is being, I'm sure a lot of people would have a different answer for you, but that's just how I am. I kind of just, I don't like to, my bike is my bike. It's a dirt bike at the end of the day. And I'm sure a lot of people joke around with me, like if you were to put me on a, let's say Jet Lawrence's bike, I probably wouldn't like it because it'd be too good. It'd be too good for me. So I like, sometimes I like my bikes a little worn out. So.
What do you enjoy more, Supercross or motocross?
Supercross all day long. And that probably changed for me 2 weeks ago. I was actually talking to my sister about this morning, and she asked me the same question. And I'm just, the more I ride Supercross, the more I get comfortable on it. Shorter races, cooler weather, more intense, arguably just more fun. There's more of a flow to it. Outdoors is just, and it's just relentless. It's like you have to be a dog when it comes to that kind of stuff. And obviously I love racing outdoors. I love me a good sand track. But lately I've shifted to Supercross. I'm a big Supercross guy now.
It is, arguably it is funner to watch too.
That's true. It's way more fun because, outdoor races they're just longer and everyone gets more spread out and everyone's kind of doing their own thing.
Right.
Generally a Supercross race, there's always something to watch in whatever race it is for however long. There's always something going on.
Right. Were you at Hangtown in 2025?
I was. I raced it.
Yeah. How was it racing it? Because it was so hot and it was so bad. And I just cannot imagine being in a position where I have to race in that heat.
Were you at Hangtown?
I was.
Okay, so it was it was really good for me. Other than the heat, both motos I was running like 22nd, 22nd or 23rd. I didn't finish the first moto just because it was getting to a point where I almost like, you kind of feel like you get lightheaded and whatnot. And that one was, I had never, that one will go down as one of the harder races I've ever done in my life. It was, and I did that one I also did by myself. I had one of my best friends come down to mechanic for me. And it was kind of just me and him running out of the van. So we didn't really have, you see guys go down there, they go to the line with their cooling vests and their, their ice packs and whatnot. I didn't have none of that. I was just, I was out there. So, that one, I wasn't expecting it to be as bad as it was. That one tested you for sure. And, so I didn't finish the first moto. The second moto I did finish, but I pulled off, barely being able to ride my bike back. And, it took me about a week to recover from that one. That one was, Hangtown last year was ridiculous. Definitely gotta be the hardest race I've ever done.
Oh, I don't doubt it. So how involved is the team when it comes to the bike development and feedback from you?
Pretty, it's, it's hard to say. I got together with the team pretty much when I got out into California, so a week before Anaheim won. So we didn't have a whole lot of time to kind of mess around with stuff like that. Obviously, there's, like I said, a bunch of guys on the team that really know what they're doing and have been able to help me when in certain circumstances. But at the same time, like I said, I don't really mess around with a bunch of stuff, So I'll get asked by, our people on the team, like, do you want this changed? What kind of tire pressure are you running? Been running the same tire pressure for like 10 years. That's all I know. And even like, I didn't really even work on my bikes, up until about 4 years ago. So I'm still kind of learning how everything works as well. And, I think it would be beneficial for me to be able to have some time to test and really dive a little deeper into what my motorcycle's doing underneath me. But I've never really had the time or, kind of, the ability to have, everybody around me for, a week or two at a time to really get the bike dialed in. So, a lot of experienced guys on the team, a lot of people that they know what they're doing. So they do definitely help me when, even I don't know what I'm talking about myself. So it's pretty cool to have that.
Yeah. So at the moment, like, what aspect of your racing are you trying to improve the most? Like, what are you really focusing on?
That's a good one. I think the biggest aspect for me is, I really believe I have really good speed on my bike. Even in Supercross right now, like I said, I have speed. I'm racing the track now. I'm not just getting around it. I think, and this is going to be a short one. I think it's just, consistency and laps. Like I can do the speed, but I can't do the speed, as long as some of the guys that are closer to the top 10. And I think that's kind of the only difference that's really separating me from going to that next level now is just, consistency and time and repetitive laps and doing the same thing over and over again.
Right.
It's simple as that.
What does success look like for you beyond results this year?
Success beyond results. Obviously the results are, 95% of,
right.
what I look at as success. But I think, and even just going back to what I said before, is growing as a person, growing as a singular person of myself, even just not having my family around and whatnot, like to be there and help me. And usually, like, I've always had my dad to walk me through things, and obviously he's still here and he's doing his thing, but he hasn't, like I said, he hasn't been able to make it out to any of the races yet. So a lot of things I got to figure out on my own, and growing in that aspect. I think that would be, and in terms of like racing, just being able to improve, and be able to have the mindset to take away little things as success, and if I have a bad weekend, not just closing the whole weekend off as a bad weekend, but taking what I did do well and bringing it into my next week to make the next weekend better. And having and kind of an open mindset about that. That is that's also huge success to me, and working on that every week.
Yeah, obviously getting a good result is like very important, but do you think that you value that more than like the effort you put into a race? Like you could be Sorry, go ahead.
I think they go hand in hand. I think obviously I've been putting in a lot of effort this year, and I think it's showing with the results. So yeah, and obviously there's always more that you can do. So but I think I am this has been the most dedicated to the sport that I've every year I obviously, at the end of the day, I want to race dirt bikes as my job, and I want to make this my real career. So, it's just like anything else. I go to work during the week, and then it kind of shows on the weekend. So, I think, like I said, going hand in hand, and that's why I think my results just continue to improve every weekend is just because I'm really trying to make it work.
Yeah.
So it's not and it's pretty cool that some of the results are like it's very visual and like eminent to me that I'm making huge progress. So that's it's cool to see, even just from my perspective.
When you're not racing and it's just like a normal day, what are you most likely doing?
Golfing. I like to golf. As everyone else, it's kind of you race dirt bikes, you also golf.
Right.
You'd think I'd play hockey being Canadian, but I don't. So I don't. I play a little bit here and there, but I golf. I'm not very good at it, but I do golf. Obviously the mountain bikes I do a lot of, and basketball. Like I've played basketball my whole life. I still do that. I used to play video games, not as much anymore. I don't know. I just I'm not really one to sit on the couch. Like I always try to keep myself moving no matter what I'm doing. So it's that's kind of what I do. And then and obviously being out here, it's a lot easier to kind of do those things when I'm back home. Like in my house right now, we're under like 5 feet of snow, so there's not a whole lot to do back at home during the winter.
Right. Go try to play golf in the snow.
Yeah, exactly. I want to. The next thing I want to do is snowboard. I really want to snowboard. I haven't done that yet.
That's good. You already said that you're like an introvert, and that would be kind of shocking for someone that doesn't really know you. But what is something else that you think people would be surprised to know about you?
Man, that's a tough one. I don't know. I really don't know. I think that would be the biggest one. I'm pretty just, like, I feel like I'm, for the most part, like how people see me is kind of just, how I am. So yeah, that would be the biggest thing though, is that, like, I was growing up, you would not find me anywhere but in my camper until I had to race, and then I'd race and I'd go back in the camper. So that's been that's something that I think a lot of people, I mean, if you knew me back then, you'd know, but yeah, that's definitely probably the one.
Gotcha. So racing can be very overwhelming at times, I'm sure. So who do you lean on the most when it like life gets that way and it feels very heavy?
I gotta say my parents,
Mm-hmm.
and I gotta say God. Like I've been, like I said, like I have really deep faith, and
Mm-hmm.
it grows. I grow in it every day, and I gotta say, just getting in the Word, in my Bible.
Mm-hmm.
It's life is hard, and especially when I being out here, I take my day. I take everything day by day.
Mm-hmm.
New day, new challenge. So definitely, being in my Bible. That's I gotta say that's probably what I lean on the most.
Mm-hmm. What excites you the most about the next few chapters of your racing career?
Um, I think just my potential. Like
Mm-hmm.
I see a lot of potential in myself. Um, I'm very I like to say I'm very humble when it comes to my racing.
Mm-hmm.
But I do see the potential in my riding, and I see like I said, seeing the progress and each and every weekend, and just the new opportunities that I have all the time, even being a part of your podcast, and just like even stuff like that. Like I like talking,
Mm-hmm.
and I think there is a lot of different opportunities for me that could even stem from racing or whatnot. And I think I just I love the industry.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people in it now, and I just like I said, I want to race my dirt bike for a living, and I'm gonna pursue that, and I'm gonna try as hard as I can, as long as I can, and I think the most exciting part is just seeing is like how uncertain racing is.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's like you can't predict anything when it comes to this sport, and I think that's what even makes it exciting as a rider.
Right. What are your top 3 favorite tracks out of Supercross and Motocross combined? Like, what are your top 3 favorite tracks to ride?
I gotta say Redbud.
Mm-hmm.
I live really close to Redbud. I'm only, in terms of American tracks, that's my home race.
Mm-hmm.
So I gotta say Redbud and Ironman. I love Ironman. And my most favorite Supercross track, although I'll never ride it again, but I gotta say San Diego. Like San Diego of this year, for some reason, obviously I did well there, but I from the day I got out, or even on Friday riding press, I don't know. I knew it was gonna be a good day. I was kind of like racing the track in press, and no one does that, but I felt really good. So that track was awesome, and if I could rebuild that somewhere, I would do that right now. That track was a lot of fun. Those 3 got to be my top 3.
That's good. Who has had the biggest influence on your career so far, if you had to say?
It's hard to pick just one.
Yeah,
It really is. I've had a lot of people that have had a huge influence on my career. I've worked with a lot of people. Everyone at Club MX. Obviously, my dad, like I said, he's been by my side through thick and thin the whole time. And he's always, no matter what happens, we're still in it. So yeah, I gotta say my dad, I gotta say my mom, just my family. I've had so many trainers. Like I said, it's hard to pick one. There's a lot of people that have just gotten me to even this point.
Right. If you weren't racing, like in a world where motocross doesn't exist and supercross doesn't exist, and what even is a dirt bike, what do you think you'd be doing instead of racing?
I don't know. That one's hard because I've always known dirt bikes,
Right.
and I've almost never thought about anything else. The past few years I've had a few thoughts about, what would life look like without racing or whatnot. I joke around with my friends all the time and say I'd just be a lazy guy that sits at home and plays Fortnite because I like to eat. I've just got a big passion for eating. So being an athlete definitely keeps me in check. It's hard to say. I like to. My dad, he builds houses for a living, and I've worked with him for a little bit, and I enjoy framing. Whenever my dad needs help, I'm always with him. But yeah, it's hard to say because I've never really given it a thought, and nothing ever piqued my interest the way that, like, I always just kind of envisioned myself racing supercross for a living, and that's just always been how it is.
Steve Mathis actually said in an article that he wouldn't pick numbers that were so ingrained with riders that recently raced, like talking about you specifically with your number being 800 and with Alessi's number being 800. So I was just curious, what do you think about him saying that? Do you agree?
Yes, but I mean, like, if you talk about me with the Alessi number, then you can talk about Chase Sexton with the number 4,
right?
And like, there's a lot of guys that are running. Obviously, I'm not at their level, but there's a lot of guys that are running a lot of previous numbers, and we all know Mike was a good starter, and lately I've whole shotted like every LCQ that I've been in this year, so I don't think that's coincidence.
Right.
But yeah, I see it, but at the same time, I kind of picked that number knowing that it would be talked about a little bit, and maybe it would open some eyes. So that was partially why I picked it, but I do understand where he's coming from. Yes, but at the same time, the number went back into the system, and I've always been a bit of a Michael Essie fan for sure. So it's a nice even number. You can remember it.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of agree to disagree.
Right. I mean, there's only so many numbers out there anyways, so.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Some of them are going to be reused at some point. And some numbers are just cool and people want to use them again. So.
Yeah, so true. So is there a story behind your number then? Because, I mean, you just said that you are an Alessi fan, but was there any other meaning behind it?
Yeah, not really. Not really. We kind of just, when I was going pro and we were picking a number, and the two numbers that I had previously put in weren't available, and I came across 800, and we're like, man, 800 would be cool. So that there's not really a whole story behind it. Growing up, I was 22. Like from when I started riding to basically when I got on 125s, I was 22. Never really changed it, and that was just always kind of my number. I've just always been 22, and if I ever get a chance to go back to 22, I will, but that's also a number that's been in the system before.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, no. 22 is always my thing. I've been a few numbers over the past few years. My first choice of going, when I was going pro, when I was picking a number, I was trying to be 942. I was 94 a few years for Loretta's back when I was on 85. So I was a huge Ken Roxon fan. So whenever I didn't get 22 for Loretta's, I was 94. And then, when I was picking the number, I kind of combined 22 and 94, and I just, I put together 942. Couldn't get that one, so that's what kind of led to the 800. If it wasn't 800, you would have been seeing a 942 bike out there.
Wow, I like that story. That's a good
one.
Yes,
yeah, that's kind of that's the backstory behind that.
Nice. Before we start wrapping it up here, because it's been a long episode. Do you have any other fun stories from racing that you'd want to share?
That's funny. One that comes up to the top of my head. I was it's I can laugh about it now, but I was racing a Canadian national back in 2023. I was racing the 250 class at this track called Sandalee, and I was running fifth, which was my in the Moto, which would have been my career best in Canada. And I took it all the way down to the last lap, and I had about half a lap to go, and I was really tired. It was, it's like 95 plus degrees that day. And I missed coming into a corner. I kind of missed my front brake, and I kind of just rode over the berm. No big deal. I was going to get back on the track, and there's this little puddle in front of me. So I go to ride through it. Turns out it wasn't a little puddle. It was like a 5-foot hole deep, like 5 foot, like deep, full of water. So I rode straight into it, sunk the bike. That was the end of my race. It took us like 45 minutes to get the bike out. The motor was trashed. It was no good. I can laugh about it now. I'd say that was probably the funniest recent story. I've also, back in 65s, there was a race, back when I was on 65s, I was racing the PRESTON Spring National in Texas. And early in the moto, I got in a crash and my boot came off. And I was going to try and finish the race without a boot, and I did like 3 laps without a boot. And then they pulled me off. So I gotta say that's probably another one. But yeah, other than that, not a whole lot of craziness.
Oh, that'd be scary. Just an unprotected foot.
The bare foot on those pegs did not feel good.
Oh, I'm sure. That sounds brutal. Okay. Yep. My last few questions. What advice would you give to young riders trying to make it onto a team and go pro like you are?
Pretty simple. Just stay at it, and I'll work hard and just keep pursuing it and not letting anything get in the way of your goals, because if you have a goal and you set it, then you have to do whatever you can to get there.
Absolutely.
Just plain and simple.
What message do you want people to take away from after hearing your story?
I don't know. This could be a big answer, but I'll keep it pretty short. You know, I've had that's an interesting question. Probably just, you know, that I'm a hard worker.
Mhm.
And I like to race my dirt bike, and I kind of I'm doing whatever I can to make it happen.
Absolutely. And then where can fans follow along and support you this season?
My Instagram, probably the main one.
Mhm.
Just my name at Preston MASCIANGELO.
Mhm.
My TikTok's the same, and my Facebook is also the same.
Mhm.
And I'm pretty sure my YouTube, if you want to go back and watch some old vlogs, you want to go back and watch some old vlogs, pretty sure my YouTube's just my name as well. You can follow along the journey on those, and who knows, maybe we'll start vlogging again.
I hope so. I really do. All right. Well, I
We'll
cannot.
see.
I'm betting on it. I cannot wait to see what you do with the rest of your season. Thank you so much for being on, Preston.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you so much for having me on, Jess. I'm glad it all, we've been trying to do this for like a month and a half. I'm glad it all worked out.
I know, me too. Hopefully next year we'll have more to talk about.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Alrighty. Thank you.
Alrighty. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Jess Miskell Motocast show. As always, my name is Jess Miskell, and you guys have a good night.